Hello, Kitchen Pals, and welcome back to Miss Abby's Kitchen class. I hope you're having a good week so far. This is our final episode of 2020. As we're wrapping up the year and your time in school for the semester, I want to send you along with a delicious pastry recipe that you can make in a variety of ways. This pastry is called Rugelach, which is pronounced many different ways depending on what part of the world you're from. Similar to how different parts of our country pronounce different words differently, different countries and dialects pronounce this Yiddish word differently. Essentially, the word Rugelach means corner or horn, which will make more sense once you see what shape we cut it into for baking. Rugelach is a typical treat for Hanukkah, and since tonight is the seventh night of Hanukkah, I thought it would be fun to show you how to make this special dessert. Now that we know a little bit about this pastry and where it comes from, I'm excited to show you how to make it. Let's get to the kitchen. Welcome back to the kitchen. So I have all my ingredients laid out for this basic Rugelach dough, but I haven't yet set out any of the ingredients for my fillings for the cookie, for this pastry. And that's because once we make this dough, then we'll need to chill it for an hour. So I have plenty of time to put those filling ingredients together. So in the meantime, I have 1 stick of unsalted butter and then 1 whole block of cream cheese. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar. And then 1 teaspoon or a splash of vanilla extract. And then just 1 pinch of kosher salt. And I'll blend this all together. So those ingredients you'll see are all incorporated. So I'm slowly going to start adding 2 cups of flour to this mixture just until they're combined. Okay, so my dough is still a little shaggy. It hasn't all come together in one dough ball, which is fine. We're going to turn this out onto a lightly floured countertop surface. And I'm going to roll it just a little bit longer with my clean hands. And then I'm going to separate it into 4 smaller portions and wrap that in some plastic wrap and then put that in the fridge for an hour. Okay, Kitchen Pals, I've separated my Rugelach dough into 4 separate discs and I've wrapped them in some plastic wrap. I'm going to get this into my refrigerator for an hour and I'll come back and I'll show you what different kinds of fillings and then what to do next with this dough. Hey, Kitchen Pals. So now that my dough has chilled for an hour, remember I divided it into fourths and put that in the refrigerator to chill for an hour. And now I'm rolling out each of those little balls of dough into a roughly 9-inch circle so that I can fill them and then cut them into our shapes to bake them. Now, rolling something into a 9-inch circle can be kind of tricky. You might have one of those mats that has different size circles on it to help use as a guide as you roll dough out. Or maybe you're just rolling it out freehand on your floured countertop with a rolling pin. That's totally fine too. I have these little bags that I use for rolling out pie dough that are, one is a little bit bigger. It's to fit into the pie pan. And this one is to fit on top of the pie pan if you're doing a double crust of pie. And so I'm using this to roll out roughly 9-inch circle of my small batches of dough. So you can see I've got my dough in here. And then let me open this up for you. It's just a little zipper pouch. And so I put some flour on the bottom here. I put my dough down and I put a little more flour on top of that. And then I'm just going to zip this bag shut and use my rolling pin to roughly roll it out to a 9-inch circle. We are not looking for a perfect circle here. This is not something for your geometry teacher to grade. I feel like I keep picking on the geometry teachers. I actually really loved geometry when I was in school and had a really wonderful geometry teacher, Mrs. Weedman. If you're out there watching, I hope you're doing well. So I'll just continue to roll this out until it's close to the edges of that 9-inch circle. I'm going to keep flipping this over, and every so often I'll unzip this bag and just kind of feel the dough and make sure there aren't any sticky spots that need a little extra flour. That's a little sticky on the top, so I'm going to add a little flour to that. Just a little bit. Okay, so here's my third circle roughly rolled out. So I'm gonna get my fourth circle and roll that out, and then I'll tell you about my toppings. Okay, Kitchen Pal, so I've got all four of my small fourths of dough all rolled out here. They are not perfect shapes because remember, we're not looking for perfect here. This isn't meant for a magazine or for a professional restaurant or pastry chef. This just is meant for us to learn something new and try out a new recipe and make progress. So these aren't meant to be four perfect circles. They're meant to be, well, they're meant to be rugelach. And so let's get to work on adding some filling to this. So first of all, I'm going to use one type of filling on two different rounds of dough here because it's the most traditional filling for rugelach and I really like it. So I've made a mixture here of 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 3 tablespoons of white sugar, and then a little more than a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon here. And I'm going to sprinkle this out over 2 of my rolled out shapes here. Divide that about in half. Okay. And then I want to spread that filling out as best I can over all of my rolled dough here. So you just kind of smooth it out kind of evenly. Should have rolled my sleeves up a little more. And try to get this even here as much as you can. And then you want to press that lightly into your dough because we want it to stay put as we're rolling up our rugelach. So I'll do this again with my second shape in there. And now I've got probably a third of a cup of walnuts that I've chopped up here. And I'll add these all over both of my rolled out forms here. I really love walnuts, and that's really traditional for rugelach, but maybe you don't like walnuts or someone in your house has an allergy, and that's okay. You could use a different nut or no nuts. And if you wanted to go full on traditional here, then you would add some raisins to this one, but I'm going to save my raisin-like topping for the next batch. So I'm going to cut this first into fourths. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. And then for each of those fourths, I'm going to divide it into thirds. So look at there, math teachers. We're doing some math all along here. So let's cut each section into thirds. Okay. Next, Kitchen Pals, I'm just going to roll each of these shapes up, kind of like those cans of crescent rolls that you might get at the grocery store. So I'm just going to roll these up so that then the point is at the very bottom here, kind of tucked in. Okay, Kitchen Pals, I've got those first 2 sets of rugelach all filled and rolled up, and they're chilling in the refrigerator. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But for this third batch, I'm going to put a little bit of fruit preserves on here. I really love jams and jellies and preserves, and so I have a lot of different varieties in the refrigerator. And this variety is a cherry vanilla fruit preserve that's really delicious. I really love this. So I'm just going to spread this out gently over my dough here. And then I told you on that last batch that raisins are really traditional to add to rugelach. I'm not a huge fan of raisins per se, but I do love craisins. And so I'm going to add some craisins to this before I start slicing it up. So let me finish spreading out this preserves. And you saw I just used maybe 2 tablespoons of preserves, but you can add to your comfort level of whatever you think looks good on your dough here. Just be mindful that some of it is just going to seep out whenever you roll up your rugelach, and that's okay. It's just going to make a little bit of a gooey mess, but that's what cleaning cloths are for, right? Okay, so once again, remember we're going to cut it into fourths. and then cut each of those into thirds. Oh, that one's stuck a little bit. And again into thirds. Okay. Okay, Kitchen Pals. So for my fourth section of dough, here's what I did. Whew. I took some cookie butter, maybe 2 big tablespoons of it, and I just zapped it in the microwave for 12 seconds to get it a little gooey and spreadable. And I'm just going to drop that over this section of dough here that I've rolled out. It's very, very spreadable, which is just how I want it, but it's not hot. Because if it was hot, it was going to cook our dough a little bit and get it a little bit too soft, which I don't want to do. Just use the back of my spoon here to spread this. Have you ever had cookie butter before? Basically, they take these cookies, they're called Biscoff cookies, and they run them through the same process that they use to make a nut butter. So it's the same consistency of like a peanut butter or an almond butter, if that's what you like to use, but it's totally made out of cookies. And it's just a beautiful thing, honestly. Okay, Kitchen Pal, so you can see my workspace is all cleared of dough and filling, just a little bit of a mess to clean up. But guess what? All of my Rugelach is on 2 parchment lined baking sheets in the refrigerator. It all has to chill for 30 minutes before I can bake it. And so you know what I'm going to use that 30 minutes to do, right? That's right. Destroy the evidence. I'm going to clean off my counters here. I'm going to put away all my supplies that I've had out. I'm going to, maybe wrap some more holiday presents and maybe sit and read a chapter of my book for a little bit. Have a little relaxing evening here on the 7th night of Hanukkah. And when I come back, we're going to egg wash all that Rugelach. We're going to preheat our oven to 350, and we're going to bake that Rugelach for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay, Kitchen Pals, so my Rugelach has been chilling for about 30 minutes. And so I'm going to make up a little egg wash to brush over all of my Rugelach before I bake it. You remember we made an egg wash a couple weeks ago when we were doing our asparagus and prosciutto pockets. So we're just going to do 1 egg, or un œuf, as we learned last week in French, with a tablespoon of milk, and just whisk that together real quick. And I've got my 2 baking sheets that are lined with parchment, and I'm going to brush each of these sheets full of Rugelach with my egg wash. Okay, Kitchen Pals, all my Rugelach has been egg washed, so I'm going to get this into a 350-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to check them at 15 minutes and see how they look. So we'll be right back. Kitchen Pals, I just got all my Rugelach out of the oven. I'm going to get it onto this cooling rack just to cool off a little bit before I taste test them. They look so good. Waiting for cookies to cool off before you eat them is torture, but probably not as torturous as not being able to smell these right now. They smell so good. So as soon as these cool off, I'm going to taste test, I think, one of each different flavor and just kind of see how they taste. But for now, I just like that they're all different sizes, that our imperfections and what the shape of our dough turned out to be turn into all these different sizes of Rugelach, and they all look so different and they all look really delicious. This is the final episode of Miss Abby's Kitchen Class for 2020. I hope you're all looking forward to a break from school and schedules and alarm clocks for a few days. I'm looking forward to seeing you again when we start back up on January 13th. When I see you again, we'll be talking about challenging ourselves to try new things and new flavors. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and have a grown-up email me if you have any questions about this recipe or any of the other recipes that we've made so far. Until next time, happy holidays, Kitchen Pals.